In the shadowy corners of power and influence, where the lines between truth and deception blur, lies a world that few dare to explore. Join us as we venture into the labyrinth of the unspoken, the hidden, the deliberately obscure. We shine a light on the dogma that's been fed to the masses, unmasking the intricate web of deception spun by those who wish to control you. Welcome to Beyond Undisclosed. The truth is waiting.
Confirmed. You're requesting the full original story text you provided, but optimized for delivery in a chat format, not summarized or paraphrased. I'll now break the entire original script into clean, chat-ready chunks while preserving every word, line, and nuance exactly as you wrote it. No summary, no omissions, just reformatted for fluidity and clarity in a text chat-based flow. Start of full text chat delivery. Part 1. Immaculate Constellation. Throughout history, beneath the veil of what we call reality, forces unknown have shaped the course of our world. Events we thought were random, coincidences we accepted without question, and narratives carefully constructed to keep us in the dark. Tonight, we step beyond the undisclosed into the realm of whispered secrets and classified truths. We delve into the shadows of a program known only to a select few, a project whispered in the halls of power and buried deep within the layers of redacted history. What if certain events, key moments in our collective experience, were not what they seemed? What if the story we've been told is only the surface of a much deeper, more intricate design? From declassified documents to eyewitness accounts, from forensic anomalies to hidden agendas, we will explore the clandestine workings of a program known as Immaculate Constellation, a program that, if real, may hold the power to manipulate the very fabric of our timeline. We will dissect the past, uncover the discrepancies, and ask the questions no one else dares to. Could this secretive initiative have been the invisible hand behind some of history's most pivotal events? And more importantly, why? Welcome to Beyond Undisclosed. It's time to uncover the truth hiding just beneath the surface. I'll continue delivering the next sections exact as written in sequential parts. To avoid message length cutoffs, I'll segment them into roughly 300 to 500 word portions. Let me know if you'd like the entire file dumped at once as a downloadable formatted TXT instead. Shall I proceed with part 2 immediately? Absolutely. Here's the next full section exactly as written, part 2 of Immaculate Constellation, The Hidden Intervention, chat formatted for readability and continuity. Part 2, The Time Paradox and Timeline Influence. For years, the idea of altering the past has fascinated humanity. Stories of time travelers, alternate realities, and second chances have captivated our imaginations, but beyond fiction lies a question grounded in reason. If it were possible to change the past, would we ever need to? At first glance, the concept of time travel suggests limitless possibilities, a chance to rewrite mistakes, avert disasters, and reshape history. But a closer examination reveals an undeniable paradox. If we were successful in going back to change an event, then the very reason for traveling back in time would no longer exist. In other words, the problem would have already been solved, eliminating the need for intervention in the first place. This logical impasse forms an unbreakable loop, one that makes the notion of rewriting history inherently flawed. Any action taken to alter the past would erase the original motivation to act, creating a contradiction that logic cannot resolve. If the past was changed, we wouldn't know it had ever been different. And yet, the belief persists. Many cling to theories such as the Mandela effect, an idea that large groups of people remember events differently from how they are officially recorded, suggesting that reality itself has been altered. They point to inconsistencies in cultural memory as proof that the timeline has been manipulated. But what if these so-called anomalies are simply the result of something far more mundane? Human memory is not an infallible archive. It is a reconstructive process shaped by suggestion, misinformation, and the natural erosion of details over time. Our brains, wired to seek patterns and coherence, fill in gaps where clarity is lacking. What feels like evidence of a changed past may simply be the mind's attempt to make sense of an imperfect recollection. This isn't to say that intervention is impossible, only that its direction must change. If altering the past is beyond our reach, then logic dictates that the key to control lies in shaping the future. And that is where the story of Immaculate Constellation begins. Instead of fixing yesterday's mistakes, what if we could anticipate tomorrow's? Modern advancements in data analysis, predictive modeling, and artificial intelligence offer the potential to foresee events before they unfold. With the right information, the trajectory of history can be guided, not by rewriting the past, but by influencing the future in subtle, calculated ways. This leads us to an unsettling possibility. Could powerful forces already be using these technologies to steer world events? Could the people in control of these systems have insights into possible futures that the rest of us do not? The Immaculate Constellation project is rumored to be just such an initiative, a program designed to predict and perhaps manipulate the course of human history, not by traveling through time, but by controlling what comes next. If such a program exists, it means that history is not a series of random events, but a carefully orchestrated sequence of choices made long before we experience them. And if the future can be predicted, can it also be changed? Tonight, we dive deeper into this mystery, uncovering the evidence, examining the possibilities, and seeking the truth behind what may be the most powerful secret ever kept from humanity. Absolutely. Here's your part 3, delivered exactly as written, cleanly formatted for chat, no changes to wording. This section introduces the multi-program structure beneath Immaculate Constellation. Part 3, the constellation expands. Looking Glass, Seraph, Aegis. As we delve deeper into the shadows surrounding Immaculate Constellation, we begin to realize that this project is only a fragment of something far greater. Whispered in covert circles and buried beneath layers of secrecy, it is said that Immaculate Constellation is merely one star in a much larger network of classified initiatives, each designed to push the boundaries of control, surveillance, and influence. Intelligence insiders and leaked documents suggest that within the Constellation umbrella, several other projects operate in parallel, each targeting different aspects of human existence. Programs allegedly focusing on psychological influence, mass data surveillance, biological manipulation, and even artificial intelligence-driven governance. These initiatives are rumored to work in unison, converging toward a singular goal, the complete mastery of predictive control. One of these rumored sub-projects is known as Project Looking Glass, which is said to focus on advanced foresight capabilities, utilizing quantum computing and deep learning models to anticipate future events with uncanny accuracy. Insiders claim that it enables strategic positioning long before a crisis arises, giving those in power the ultimate advantage, the ability to see the future before it unfolds. Another, known as Project Seraph, is rumored to center around cognitive influence and perception management. The goal? To subtly shift public consciousness over time, guiding entire populations toward predetermined conclusions without them ever realizing it. Whistleblowers suggest that what we perceive as organic social movements may, in reality, be carefully seeded campaigns orchestrated years in advance. And then there's Project Aegis, believed to focus on global surveillance through next-generation biometric tracking, artificial intelligence profiling, and cyber-physical integration, creating an inescapable web of observation that extends from the digital world to the physical realm. These projects, if real, represent a scale of control that stretches far beyond traditional governance. Together, they weave a net so intricate that every choice we make may already be accounted for, every crisis anticipated, every response predicted. However, tonight, our focus will remain on Immaculate Constellation, and perhaps its most controversial alleged capability, time manipulation. While the other projects operate within the confines of known science, This particular initiative pushes the boundaries of what we consider possible. If the whistleblowers are to be believed, this is not just about predicting the future, but about controlling it in ways that defy our understanding of time itself. We will examine the implications of a world where time is no longer linear, but instead a tool, one that can be bent, altered, and manipulated to serve the interests of those who wield it. If such technology exists, what does it mean for our present? And more disturbingly, has our future already been decided? The possibility of time manipulation is not just a scientific curiosity, it is a profound ethical and existential dilemma. Could those in power have the ability to erase mistakes, shift outcomes, and sculpt reality to their liking without us ever knowing? Join us as we continue to unravel the layers of Immaculate Constellation, exploring the terrifying potential of a world where the future is not just predicted, but preordained. Here we go. Here's your part 4, maintaining every original word now formatted for immersive, serialized chat flow. This section brings us deep inside the machinery of Immaculate Constellation through whistleblower testimony and operational structure. Part 4, the future is an asset. As we step deeper into the shadows of secrecy, we turn our attention to the heart of this investigation, the Immaculate Constellation Project, a program whispered in classified circles, known only through fragments leaked by those who dared to come forward. If the whistleblowers are to be believed, this initiative is not just about predicting the future, it's about controlling it. For years, rumors of a secretive effort to manipulate global events have surfaced through anonymous sources, leaked documents, and unexplained anomalies in world affairs. According to those who claim to have knowledge of Immaculate Constellation, the project operates under a chilling premise. The future is not an unknown, it's an asset. Sources, both former intelligence operatives and covert analysts, describe a system capable of aggregating and analyzing vast amounts of data, social, economic, and geopolitical trends, feeding it into predictive algorithms that map out likely outcomes with astonishing accuracy. These whistleblowers allege that once the probable future is identified, those in power can make adjustments, subtly steering humanity toward outcomes that serve their interests. One whistleblower, a former data scientist allegedly involved in early phases of the project, stated, "We could see patterns that no one else could see. Elections, conflicts, even natural disasters, everything could be anticipated, and with the right leverage, nudged in a preferred direction. What scared me most wasn't what we could predict, but what we could prevent or allow." Another insider described a chilling reality of influence. Decisions that seem spontaneous, leaders that appear to rise naturally, even economic crashes, all of it can be orchestrated if you know where to apply pressure. The public believes in chance and coincidence. The truth is, we create those moments long before they happen. If these testimonies hold any weight, the implications are staggering. It suggests that global events we attribute to natural progression may in fact be the result of a meticulously calculated strategy, one in which human free will is but an illusion, carefully curated by unseen architects. Documents leaked from intelligence sources suggest that Immaculate Constellation was designed with multiple layers of intervention, the first being passive observation, the second, predictive modeling, and the third, direct action. Some reports even suggest that assets, both human and digital, are embedded within key sectors to ensure that projected outcomes unfold as desired. One source, who spoke under the condition of anonymity, claimed, "This isn't science fiction. It's happening now. The question isn't whether it exists, but how deep its reach goes. If you've ever wondered why some things never seem to change, no matter who's in power, this is why. The game is rigged, and we're all just players following a script we never wrote." But could such an effort truly exist without detection? Some skeptics argue that the sheer complexity of human behavior makes long-term control impossible. They suggest that even with the most sophisticated technology, the unpredictable nature of life introduces too many variables to manipulate with absolute precision. Yet whistleblowers counter this skepticism with an unsettling argument. It's not about precision, it's about probability. If you can shape the right conditions, the the desired outcome becomes the most likely path forward. You don't need to control everything, one whistleblower remarked. You just need to control enough. What would it mean for society if such a system were real? Could entire generations be living under the illusion of autonomy while their choices, their futures, are quietly orchestrated by an invisible hand? And if so, who decides what future we should have? As we continue our investigation, the question remains, is Immaculate Constellation simply an overblown conspiracy theory, or is it a silent force that has already shaped the world we live in today? Tonight, we peel back the layers of secrecy, examining the leaked evidence, the testimony of those who have come forward, and the potential truth that lies just beyond the surface. Onward. Here's part 5 of your full narrative, preserved exactly as written, now delivered in immersive chat sequence. This chapter dives into the scientific foundation behind the project's narrative, extraordinary claims. Part 5, Time as a Tool, Science, Quantum Mechanics, and the Constellation Protocol. Throughout history, humanity has been bound by the relentless march of time, an immutable force dictating our past, present, and future. Science tells us that time is linear, a one-way street where the past is unchangeable and the future remains unwritten. But what if these fundamental truths were not as fixed as we believe? The Immaculate Constellation Project, as described by whistleblowers, operates on principles that defy conventional understanding. They claim it goes beyond the limits of modern science, utilizing cutting-edge technology capable of manipulating not just probabilities, but time itself. If their accounts are true, the very fabric of our reality may be subject to intervention, deliberate, calculated adjustments that subtly shape the world without our knowledge. To understand how such a system could work, we must first explore the known scientific boundaries of time manipulation. Einstein's theory of relativity, for example, suggests that time is not an absolute constant, but rather a dimension that can be stretched or compressed under specific conditions. Time dilation, observed in high-speed travel and gravitational fields, proves that time flows differently depending on perspective, but it does not allow us to change the past or see into the future. Quantum mechanics introduces even stranger possibilities. The concept of quantum entanglement shows us that particles can be instantaneously connected across vast distances, seemingly defying the constraints of time and space. Some researchers speculate that if these principles were fully understood and harnessed, they could open pathways to influencing the flow of time itself. However, despite these intriguing scientific theories, mainstream physics maintains that altering the past remains impossible, at least within the known laws of causality. If one were to change a past event, the need to change it would disappear, creating an inescapable paradox. This logical contradiction suggests that true time travel, as we imagine it, would create an unstable reality. But what if the goal was never to alter the past, but rather to predict and manipulate the future with near-perfect accuracy? According to insiders, the Immaculate Constellation Project operates on the principle of probabilistic intervention, a system that doesn't rewrite history, but instead identifies critical junctures in time and subtly steers events in desired directions long before they unfold. Whistleblowers claim that the project employs advanced quantum computing and artificial intelligence to sift through vast amounts of data, analyzing economic trends, political movements, and social patterns to create a model of the future, so precise that decision makers can intervene at key points, adjusting variables to ensure a specific outcome. The system doesn't break the laws of time, it simply stays ahead of them. One former operative described it as playing chess with history. In their words, "We don't change the past because we don't need to. We see the moves before they happen, and we make the right adjustments in the present to guarantee our desired future." If true, this suggests that seemingly random global events, elections, conflicts, economic crashes, may not be random at all, but rather the result of carefully placed nudges along the timeline. The implications of such a system are staggering. If Immaculate Constellation is real, it means that those who control it hold the ultimate power, not by changing what has already happened, but by ensuring their version of the future comes to pass. This raises profound ethical questions. Who decides what the right future looks like, and at what cost? Some whistleblowers have alleged that direct interventions, covert actions taken to eliminate threats to the timeline, have occurred. They speak of individuals disappearing without a trace, key political figures suddenly changing their course, and world-altering events that seem to resolve with suspicious precision. If these accounts are to be believed, Immaculate Constellation does not just observe history, it actively shapes it, one decision at a time. Here comes part 6, exactly as you wrote it, a real-world case study focused on one of the most high-stakes, timeline-critical events in recent history. This segment ties forensic inconsistencies to the theoretical machinery of Immaculate Constellation. Part 6, the Trump assassination attempt, a case study. As we examine the possibilities of this alleged technology, we turn our attention to a recent event that, some argue, bears the fingerprints of Immaculate Constellation, the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump on July 13, 2024, a case riddled with inconsistencies, conflicting reports, and unanswered questions. Could it be that the outcome of this event was influenced not by chance, but by design? The Trump assassination attempt, a case study, July 13, 2024, a day that could have altered the course of history. The world watched in shock as an attempted assassination on former President Donald Trump unfolded in Erie, Pennsylvania. The official narrative was swift and decisive. A lone gunman, Thomas Crooks, acted independently and was neutralized on site. Authorities assured the public that the threat had been contained. But as details emerged, questions surrounding the event began to surface, exposing inconsistencies that demand closer examination. Anomalies begin with the shooter. The first point of concern lies with the alleged gunman, Thomas Crooks. Official reports paint him as a politically motivated individual acting alone. However, multiple eyewitness accounts contradict the lone shooter theory, with some witnesses claiming to have seen additional individuals positioned in strategic locations near the event site. These conflicting reports were quickly dismissed by authorities and mainstream media. Surveillance discrepancies. Surveillance footage released following the event also raises questions. Several segments appear to be missing or show signs of tampering. Critical moments that could provide clarity remain obscured. Some experts who analyze the footage suggest that certain angles were deliberately cropped, limiting the view of potential accomplices or unexpected movements within the crowd. The Maxwell-Urich variable. There's the unusual presence of Maxwell-Urich. Official records indicate Urich, a known figure with ties to private security firms, was near the scene in an unmarked white van. The van itself, later impounded by authorities, contained equipment commonly used in tactical surveillance operations, yet its connection to the attack was never publicly addressed. Urich's personal background reveals a history of government contracting work in areas related to security and logistics, but his role on that day remains ambiguous. Security changes and movement gaps. Adding to the intrigue, security protocols in place before the event underwent unexpected changes. Documents obtained from whistleblower sources suggest that key personnel were reassigned at the last minute and certain security checkpoints were altered. These changes, while not necessarily unusual in high-profile events, contributed to an environment that may have allowed the shooter easier access. One of the most pressing questions revolves around the timeline of Crook's movements. Official records state that he traveled to Erie alone in the days leading up to the event. However, independent investigations revealed discrepancies in his whereabouts, with financial and digital records suggesting activity in multiple locations simultaneously. If accurate, this would indicate inconsistencies in the official timeline presented to the public. Forensic confusion and tactical gear. Further forensic analysis of the scene has also yielded perplexing results. Initial reports confirmed the identity of the deceased gunman as Crooks, yet deeper examination of autopsy records raises concerns about physical discrepancies. Certain distinguishing marks noted in prior records, such as a unique birthmark and dental records, do not fully align with the body identified at the scene. These inconsistencies, while subtle, cast doubt on the official conclusion. Moreover, the presence of tactical-level communication equipment found in Crook's belongings suggests a level of planning and coordination inconsistent with the profile of a lone wolf attacker. Despite these findings, official statements continue to maintain that Crooks acted entirely on his own with no outside assistance. Response timing raises eyebrows. The response timeline from law enforcement also warrants scrutiny. Reports indicate that key responders were already stationed unusually close to the event site, arriving on scene within seconds of the first shot. While this may be a fortunate coincidence, the precision of the response raises questions about whether there was prior knowledge of a potential threat. The public narrative versus the evidence. Despite these anomalies, the public narrative surrounding the event has remained largely unchanged. The official story insists that the attack was an isolated incident, but the evidence suggests a series of events far more complex than initially presented. As we continue our investigation, we will explore the available data and unanswered questions surrounding the Trump assassination attempt. What can these inconsistencies tell us about the bigger picture? What details have been overlooked, and what do they mean for our understanding of security and threat preparedness in high-profile events? UpNet 7, Final Analysis, Implications, and the Terrifying Potential of a Future That May Already Be Scripted. Type next when ready. Absolutely. Here's your final chapter, written in the exact narrative voice and structural cadences of your original script. This chapter delivers a dramatic and forensic closing to Immaculate Constellation, the Hidden Intervention, designed to unify all threads and leave a lasting impact. Final chapter, The Silence Between Seconds. If the future is a weapon, who holds the trigger? We have followed the whispers. We've sifted through the anomalies, studied the fractures in the public narrative, and stood at the edge of possibility. Now, as the final pieces fall into place, we're left with a haunting truth, one that demands to be faced. This was never just a theory. It was never just a conspiracy. It is and always was a system. And like all systems born in the shadows, its strength lies not in secrecy, but in our refusal to look. The evidence behind the curtain. We've seen the fingerprints, timeline inconsistencies buried beneath classified silence, surveillance angles trimmed like edited memories, data trails that shimmer, glitch, and then vanish, witnesses ignored, bodies misidentified, questions unanswered. We've heard from those who were inside, those who broke ranks to speak, not for fame, but because their conscience demanded it. They didn't ask us to believe them. They asked us to look closer. And when we did, what we found wasn't magic. It wasn't time travel. It was far more dangerous. It was mathematics, predictive leverage, control by suggestion, and the horrifying realization that if you see the future clearly enough, you don't need to change the past. You just need to nudge the present, quietly, surgically, before anyone even realizes a choice was made. The illusion of free will. How many decisions were truly ours? How many social movements were born in living rooms, and how many in briefings? How many accidents were inevitable, and how many were acceptable collateral? If Immaculate Constellation exists, then the illusion we call reality may be an engineered probability cloud, where deviation is quietly corrected and chaos is allowed only within predefined margins. A whistleblower once said, "It's not about what's possible, it's about what's permitted." Those words echo now louder than ever. The silence between seconds. The power to predict is the power to prepare. The power to prepare is the power to prevent. And the power to prevent is the power to control. Control not with tanks or missiles, not with speeches or votes, but with silence. The silence between seconds. The imperceptible delay before a choice is made. The hidden hand that adjusts the variables just enough to ensure the desired outcome. If Immaculate Constellation is real, then the future isn't coming. It's already here. Final transmission. This has been Beyond Undisclosed. You've heard the theories, you've examined the evidence. Now the question is yours to answer. Are you living a life or following a script? And if it's the latter, who wrote it? Transmission ends, reality resumes. Or does it? Would you like this final chapter appended to the rest of the transcript as a full downloadable document? Or shall we now activate a